Why aren't you watching Wade's Word of the Day? 8 p.m. every night, Monday through Friday. Yeah, come on, get a word. You'll be blessed by it. Make sure that you tag Ted and text somebody. Tell them to come on into the room. I'm your host, Pastor R.D. Wade. That's what they call me,
Yeah. Here we go. Are you getting up, what, or getting down? Somebody say, hello, feel this tone. You know how we do it in this space. We're trying to get our healing. Hey, it's Wade's Word of the Day. 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 Wade's Word of the Day.
What's going on, everybody? What's going on? It's Wade's Word of the Day. Yeah, it's Wade's Word of the Day. And I need you to take your finger and let it do the typing. Just simply tag, text, and tell somebody. Tell them to come on into the space. Hang out with your boy. It's Pastor R.D. Wade, and I'm your host tonight of Wade's Word of the Day. Hey, just for the purpose of clarity, this is a space where we don't tear down, we lift up, we encourage, we speak to all of those things that speak to us. I said all of those things that speak to us, mind, body, and spirit. And while our premise, our baseline is in fact the euangelion, the good news of Jesus Christ, we talk about it all in this space. And so I'm excited to be with you all on tonight. I'm really excited about tonight because tonight we're hanging out with some folk that I'm so grateful to be with. For them hanging out with me tonight. Y'all know what we do right around here. I need you to take your finger and just simply say, hello. Yeah. When we say hello, that just simply means that we're showing up in space. That's what it means. We're showing up, that we are, in fact, participating in our destiny. What does that mean? When we say hello, we're telling our negative self-talk, nope, not today. We're not operating in negativity. We're just operating in positivity. Yeah, we tell our haters, you can't block us, you can't stop us from moving in the purpose and the plan that God would have for our lives. And then finally, we tell our fear, we ain't operating in fear. We're operating in faith. Thus, we say, hello. Can I get you tonight to just take your finger one time for your boy and say, hello? Yeah. That means you're showing up, that you have arrived in space. I see everybody coming in. Mason Cray, EJ. My mom is in the space tonight. Ma Dukes, thank you for hanging out with me tonight. Nina Holmes. Ray, what's going on? My brother Tashana, what's going on? Shakira. Audrey Barnes-Lee, what's going on? I see you, Linda Smith, Desmond Williams. What's happening? Thank you for coming into the space on tonight. So listen, all week long, the ministry that I serve, Long Hill Bible Church, we're celebrating 23 years of ministry. And so while Wade's Word of the Day is kind of a separate entity that we do Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. every night, I decided this week I wanted to talk about all things church. That's what I wanted to do, all things church. And so on Monday night, I had my mentor come in and we talked about pastoring through a pandemic. On last night, I had some of my friends, Reverend Josh Pollock and Bishop John Selders, come in and we talked about social justice, why the church needs to get connected in social justice. But I didn't want to leave the millennials out. And while I was excited about Monday night and Tuesday night, I am extremely excited about tonight and the folk who I have invited into the space tonight. I think that we're going to be blessed on tonight because this is a healing space. This is a space where we come to get our healing. And I believe even on tonight, as we listen to the millennials, that we're going to get our healing and even some understanding. Y'all remember what Bishop Selders told us last night as a church. We got to come to grips with the fact that we may not always be leading things. And so we are raising up some new leaders, some educated leaders, some passionate leaders, and they're in the space tonight and they're going to share with us. And I'm excited about it. Hey, let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. EJ put something together. So I wanna rock that out real quick. Y'all tell me if you're feeling it. Here we go. Yeah, here we go. Here we go. I'm ready to talk to some talented, some crazy. I mean, they just passionate folk. Y'all help me welcome them into the space. They're gonna introduce themselves. That's how we do it around here. So first, I got EJ coming into the space. Y'all make him feel welcome as he comes in. We got Renee coming into the space. Y'all make her feel welcome as she comes into the space as well. And none other than no, and any of y'all been hanging around these parts with us for a little while. Y'all are familiar with Sister Etna. She is in the space. She's coming into the space with us tonight. Man, I'm excited to be. I'm excited to be with you all on tonight. I really am. I'm excited to be with you all on tonight. So, hey, I want y'all to just take a minute and just introduce yourself to the Ways Word of the Day audience. I'm going to start with EJ. In any way that you want to introduce yourself, just go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
Oh man. All right, yeah. So what's going on, everybody? My name is EJ for everyone at LHBC. But my real name Ephraim Ellison. From Waterbury, Connecticut, born and raised. Also a high school educator. I'm not going to go too crazy on the introduction, so I'll pass it off to either Edna or Rane.
Whoever wants to go. Whoever wants to go next. Edna, go ahead. Go ahead, Edna.
How everyone doing? I'm Edna. Everybody, some people know me as Charmaine or Charmaine Fully Speaking. Most of my Facebook family friends. I actually was raised in Waterbury as well, and I am actually youth and teen director at the Greater Waterbury YMCA. So there
All
we go
right,
with
all
that.
right, all right. Renee, talk to the people.
People. Hello, hello. Pastor Wade, thank you so much for having me. My name is Rane Mason Craig. I am born and raised in Waterbury. I own a small business. It's called the Hub Waterbury. It is a co-working space, and I let people have their parties, their meetings there. And I also founded a nonprofit organization, Helping Hands with Open Hearts. We work with women and youth in the community to get them resources, connections, education. So that is what I've been spending my time doing. And I absolutely love this community. And thank you, Pastor Wade, for this space.
Wonderful, 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 wonderful. So listen, this is a healing space, and in this space, we're trying to get our healing. So I want to get right into it, right? I wanted to invite you all in to kind of talk about millennials and the church, right? And so let's start this way. While we may touch on some other topics as it relates, in terms of value and purpose in other spaces as it relates to the business and school and all of those particular things. I did pay attention today to Renee's post. I paid attention today to her post when she asked the question as it relates to millennials. Are you connected in church? Do you believe in God? Are you religious? And I wanted to see what some of those answers were, because here's the reality. Why do I believe it's a good start? Why we should start right here in this moment, go right into it, is because a lot of millennials, they're disconnected, and we see that the loudest as it relates to Sunday, right? And so I looked at a survey, a study. It said 59% of millennials who grew up in church are disconnected. They either just said, "Hey, I'm through with church," or they was like, "I'm taking a break. I can't deal with these folk." They just left the space. Some are even saying they're less religious, than other generations. And so we kind of want to talk about that tonight. And so my first question to you all: is it true? Are millennials in church like oil and water? Are millennials in church like oil and water? Let's start there. EJ, go ahead, talk to us. What's your thoughts?
I'll jump in. I would say yes. And the reason being, and I'm glad you pointed out that Ronnie took a poll a little earlier. So yesterday we took to Instagram and we asked some questions in regards to that, right? So one of the questions, and I don't know if you picked up on it in a video, one of the questions we asked is just, what do you think about church, right? Another one was, do you agree with the traditions? And then also, one of the major ones that I looked at was, do you feel that you can be spiritual without having the Bible as your foundation? And some of the answers and the responses that we got were very interesting. And one thing that I would say, speaking collectively, I guess as millennials, right? We're all over the place, right? we have a lot of different opinions. I feel like one of the reasons that is because we came up in the age of information, right? Maybe the previous generations before us, they didn't have access to the things that we do now.
Okay. I got to interject. So, see, a lot of times in this space, when people say something that I think people really need to hear, I want you to slow down and say it again. You said you came up, or the millennials have come up in an age of what?
Information.
All right. In an age of information. So information is readily available in all types of spaces, right?
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so getting back to that, we came in the age of information. When we see something we don't like, or I guess I'll just be transparent with it, right? We, as millennials, we're tired of being lied to, right? Yep. We want the truth, and that's it. We want to figure out what the truth is. And coming up in this, we'll say the information age, then, cancel culture also developed in this age as well, right? So if we're seeing something that we don't agree with, it's all the way left to us. We're going to cancel it. We're going to move on to the next thing to find something that aligns with, I guess, with what we believe to be true. And that can be a positive thing, and it also could be a negative thing. So I think that's where, the generations before us also come into play as well, with helping us and guiding us along the way.
So again, you got to define some things, and maybe I'll drop this to Etna. EJ just mentioned cancer culture, right?
Cancel.
Okay.
Not the cancer. Not the cancer.
Cancel culture. You see, I'm aging myself. Cancel culture, right? So for people like me and others, come on, define that. What does that mean? What does that mean? Anybody who's going to define that for us tonight? EJ, you want to define that? Edna?
Yeah, I guess you see it a lot with celebrities. Well, I'll give that example, right? So a celebrity does something that we don't agree with, maybe within the culture, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like you disown them, or you move on to the next thing. You don't really associate with that person. Okay. And that goes hand in hand with not just people, but with places, things. I think we saw that here in Waterbury when a lot of the, I guess we'll say, injustices were happening, and some of the businesses didn't stand up and say that they were down for the cause, or supported the culture. Mm-hmm. So when that happened, what we did was we canceled certain businesses. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of what it means.
Okay. So Edna, what is your take on that? I mean, is millennials in the church oil and water? What do you say to that? What's your thoughts?
Absolutely, like following from EJ. I want to say being raised in the church. I was raised in the church when I'm saying from being in the choir to ushering board to even praise dancing. So
Mm,
I've been in church my entire, childhood, I want to say. Um, because of your grandparents, and
mm,
I stopped going to church when I was 13. In the midst of 13, I want to say mid 20s, I got to about 27, I want to say. I started, trying to resurface back in the church. And I wasn't feeling it.
mm,
I don't know to say if, at the time I wasn't feeling it. Like it just wasn't, I don't know. I never forgot about God. It just that it was something different. It wasn't, I guess it wasn't the same vibe it used to be, as far as if you want to get down to how people came to church dressed down, and, the hats and the pearls and everything like that. Um, I want to say the church, not saying it lost its value, but, over time it wasn't, and it felt the same.
right.
Um, I I kind of say doing research in myself. I try to understand over time, you know, even Christians and Baptists, and understanding why we all divided. And I try
Right.
to, everyone's all these different religions, and I respect all religions. I respect all religions. It's all these different religions, and we're representing different things. So I'm trying to figure out, if we're worshiping one person, why is all these different things? Why all these different cultures? If saying a Baptist, they do something this, and then someone else could be Muslim and say, "Oh, that's the wrong thing doing." I just feel
Right.
that in the Bible, I didn't see, as far as we was divided by religion. If you want to say, I saw we were divided by language. So
Mm,
that gave me a question, like, because when God wanted to divide us, it was by language. So where did religion come from?
mhm,
And
mhm,
I started questioning religion. As far as
mhm,
that, I was raised in a Baptist church, and I want to say right now, I don't have a religion because I'm still learning. We was always raised because our grandparents say, "Oh, we're Baptist, we're Baptist." But being in a Baptist church, like, I want to say, being in a Baptist church, why is it just Baptist? Why we didn't go to other churches? What is it? And I went to different churches. I went to churches
mhm.
on Saturday. I did a
Yeah.
night church. I experienced different churches in different ways, and I was questioning certain
Mhm,
things, like,
mhm.
why we just on that pathway. So
So so
that's
let so let me ask this. Let me ask this. Because I hear from EJ now. I'm hearing it from Etna. I'm hearing this question. I'm hearing questions, right? I'm hearing why. I'm hearing why. And oftentimes I'll have a conversation with EJ, and I'll say something along this line to him. At some point, we all have to work out our own theological construct. What does that mean? What does that mean? In other words, when we begin to think about what is the Bible saying, it's interpretation, right? Um, Interpretation, and then hermeneutic, which really speaks about where I sit in it, and then ultimately application, right? So it's interpretation, implication, and then application, right? Um, but we never start with application. If we're going to learn, if we're really going to study the Bible, we always start with interpretation, and then try to figure out what are the implications. And what I'm hearing tonight from EJ and from Etna is that question of why, and that question of why comes an implication, right? So Ronay, has that been your experience? I mean, your challenge? These questions, even as it relates to, are millennials as it relates to church, um, oil and water. Come on, what's your take on it? What's your thoughts? Yeah.
So, I too have been a part of several different churches, since I've been born. I was raised and christened in an AME church.
Mm,
And then from there, it kind of was like, well, I'm going to go to church with my friends wherever they go, because I always wanted that relationship with God.
mm,
That brought me to a Catholic church where I ended up becoming Catholic. I did my communion, my confirmation, all of that, because I still wanted that relationship with God. But I can remember being 12 years old sitting there like, but why am I here and not at my family's church? And then, coming out of that, as I probably was like 19 years old, I began to learn about other religions outside of Christianity. And not that I was necessarily a follower of those religions, but I realized that there was I had a lot of questions. I had a lot of questions about why is my family AME, but my friends are Catholic, but we're all Christians. I had a lot of questions about all the different denominations. I have some family members that are Jehovah Witness. It was just so much. And so I left the church for some years. I went back probably about 24 after I graduated nursing school. And when I got back, I realized I have a lot of questions still, not about my love for God, but about why all of these different religions, and then why does this religion say this about that religion, and how come Muslims aren't our brothers? What about Jewish people? Jesus was Jewish, and it just got really funky. And now I'm in a place where I'm like, I don't feel like my whys, my questions, my curiosity is welcomed in most churches. And so that's kind of where I am at this point. And I do feel like it is kind of like a oil and water type thing. It's not mixing. Because when I have questions, I feel like in the church it's met with much resistance and just well, what do you think that for? That's not of God. Why are you thinking that? All of that,
Right. No, I get that. I think that's a challenge, specifically of the millennials, but I also believe that that's been a challenge throughout the generations in terms of this notion of applied theology, right? And so one of the things that I wrestle with and that I'm often challenged about is my notion about Blackness, even as it relates to religion, right? And so most of the constructs that have been handed down to us have come from a European viewpoint, not necessarily, a perspective that would be meaningful to who I am, right? And the challenges that I face, right? And so when you begin to ask those questions, a lot of times, traditionally, they say, don't worry about it. I don't see color, or God don't care about color, and all of those particular things, right? And believe that they're offering some truth that will answer my question, instead of just wrestling with the question that is being put in front of them. And I think sometimes we're challenged in that because we have, we have these different constructs, but there's always going to be questions. I remember I was in a seminary class, and one of my colleagues at the time was asking the professor, this, that, and that. And the professor got heated and hot because my colleague would not relent even based on the answers that he was given, right? And I think some of that is healthy if we are to grow and really discover who we are and whose we are. So do you all feel like there has been resistance in the spaces that you have occupied, in terms of, I come into these spaces and I got questions and nobody really wants to answer those questions truthfully, even by just simply saying, you know what, I don't have an answer to that. What is your take, EJ, on that? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, for me, I've been rocking with you. So I've been in LHBC since I was, I don't know how old, right? And one thing about you is I felt like you was always speaking to me, especially when I was younger. it was something about the way he preached that I could relate to at that point in time. Now, you know, you start to grow up, you go off to college, and you shy away from those things, right? So I was, you know, trying to find what I thought to be true. Again, being exposed to all of these different things, different religions, different people. So I would just getting back to it. I was at a point where I didn't know what was what really, and you know, you showed up. Ran into, I keep telling this story, but I ran into you at Panera Bread, and from there it's like things started lining up for me. So I only really know this church. Now I've been to different ones, you know, when I was away from school and seen some things that I didn't really agree with. But in this space, anytime that I came to you with a question, you never shunned me away, you never turned me away. You always tried to lead me in a direction to find the answer for myself. And you always welcome, you know, any type of questions, because, you know, I feel like that's what you want. You want us to be able to question things so that we can grow. Exactly. So for me, I can't say that I've experienced that, but it might be different for
Edna, have you faced, you know, you said have you faced resistance in that way? Have you been comfortable coming with questions, and, you know, what has been your experience? Where are you at with that?
Oh,
because I'm asking these questions because ultimately what we want to do is get healing. How do we get to a place of healing and growth, right? And so we want, you know, we want to be, you know, don't be ashamed. Tell it like a TIE is. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Go ahead.
No, quite honestly, to be quite honest, yeah, like these certain conversations you can't bring to some of the adults that's been, you know, especially our older adults. Say you can't bring this conversation and say, hey, well, I don't have religion, or, you know, you never say, oh, I don't believe in God. You always say, hey, if you even I want to say, I was raised by my grandparents. So if you even question anything about the church, you already know the outcome of that. You already know the outcome. So, you know, of course, you can't bring in a lot of people, honestly, even a lot of people our age don't want to hear that. They think, you know, you're crazy. Like, you sound crazy. That's how it's supposed to be. You know, you're visioning one thing. You're not crazy. You're researching. You know, everybody thinks that, you know, we're going off one, you know, we're viewing one way. And I think, to me, I think other people is crazy for questioning you because that's the way you're learning. If you want to be quite honest. But, you know, I just think it take people time, because it took me time, you know, to understand. And like I said, I do not discriminate. I do not disrespect any religion, anything, because at the same time, I don't care if there's different names there's different names for God.
Yeah,
we're still
absolutely.
only talking to one person. So,
Absolutely.
you know, that's why I don't. But of course, I just want to stick on the truth. I want to deliver the truthful way to him, you know, and that's how it go. But yes, there's a lot of resistance still. Yes.
So I'm seeing a lot of people in the comments, you know, there were questions around what is the age limit of millennials. And now as we're discussing, I see the uncomfortable spaces that people are operating in the comments. You know, everybody wanna offer advice. And I love that, but sometimes it's not helpful. And I'll say it, let me premise it this way. I'll say it this way. The way that we grow is through our understanding. Right? The way that we grow is through our understanding. And while the Bible, and I say it often, the Bible is my baseline, right? The Bible is my baseline. I can't really say I know who God is if I don't know a macro level of what his word says. Because I could be off somewhere looking at something else, right? So, but it is then through my experience with him that I grow in God. Are you understanding what I'm saying? Is that making sense to you all? So the Bible becomes my baseline, but it's through my experience with this God that I really discover who he is, right? And so oftentimes I can look at the logos. That's the written word. But then out of the logos comes this thing called Rhema, where some of the people in the comments will say, it's not religion, it's not a building, but it's relationship. I don't know that until I walk with him a little while. You understand what I'm saying? Or I grow with him a little while. And there are certain things that some people will try to put the logos on you, but that's not your experience. That's not your experience. And so nobody can really tell you who your God is because we all have different experiences with God. Are you understanding what I'm saying? Is that making sense to y'all tonight?
That right there.
Absolutely.
That right there.
And so it's our walk with him. It's our walk with him. And so, yes, there is some truth when I hear him in the comments say it's not religion, it's relationship. There's some truth in that, right? There's some truth in that. But you cannot deny that people practice in religion. Religion is a practice. But what comes out of religion is relationship growth. And so I may go into a church building thinking this is all it is until I begin to study for myself. And when I begin to study for myself, the obvious result of that is questions. Are you understanding what I'm saying? There's questions. So when the disciples are sitting there with Jesus, these Jewish religious brothers, these brothers have been practicing Judaism, right? And now here comes Jesus talking about, I'm the promised one. He don't look like nothing that they've been taught. Are you understand what I'm saying? Now they got questions. Why do the Pharisees say this, that, and that, and the other about you? What does Jesus do? Jesus answers their questions. And so what I'm saying in the space tonight, if we're going to get our healing, I don't want any millennium to think that they shouldn't have any questions, because you should. Because when you read your Bible, the Bible brings about questions. Is that making sense to you, Renee? Huh?
Oh yeah, okay. For sure.
What did you want to add to that? What do you want to add to that? I mean, what's your take on that? What would you say, from that? Go ahead.
Just speaking about the resistance that we were talking about before, in these spaces that we're allowed to have this curiosity. Like I mentioned before, I have been a part of several different churches. And what I realized was that I had questions and real life struggles, and I didn't need them to be met with, oh, you just got to pray about it, honey. And that's what I was getting a lot of, oh, you just got to pray about it. You got to let God deliver you from that and all this other stuff. And it's like, wait, hold on. Are we really still using, oh, you have to pray about it in 2020 when it comes to mental health instead of orchestrating a mental health ministry? Are we really still praying or telling people that you can pray your way out of homelessness, but we're not giving them access to things that will get them out of homelessness? I realized that the things that I had questions about weren't just, why are we all separated by different denominations of Christianity? But my questions began to be, well, if we're supposed to be out in the highways and the hedges, why aren't we out there? Why isn't this a ministry? And so that's when I really started to get resistance, when I started to say, well, why aren't we a part of this? And why aren't we a part of that? Why aren't we saying something? So that's a part of the resistance I started to feel as somebody who has battled with mental health and addiction. I realized that as much as the church thinks they're supportive of people in those situations, I wasn't seeing the action of that.
Right. So now, as one, I believe in therapy. I'll tell anybody, I believe in therapy. I believe there are some things when Jesus comes off of the mountain, right? He finds his disciples. A man has brought his child who in essence is crazy. right? Who in essence is crazy. They don't know how to deal with it. He said, I brought my child to your disciples, the ones who have been, following after you. And clearly they didn't have the resources to help this individual. And sometimes we offer commentary and we offer platitudes, right, as it relates to ministry. But Jesus says something. He says, this kind comes out by this and that, right? This kind comes out, which says that there are certain things that certain things come to bring about cures, right? The normal patterns that you've been dealing with, certain things, it may not necessarily be the cure to this thing, right? That it may not necessarily be the cure to this thing. And so I think it's critically important that as the church, in this new, that the church has to understand that there are some things that people bring to me that I'm clear with them. I cannot help you with that, but I know somebody who can. And I don't feel bad about pointing them to that. One of my biggest struggles early on in ministry was if people would be at the hospital and they solely just expected me to show up. And if I trained somebody on how to go and do hospital ministry and all of that, and I would send them there, to pray, to add that value, give resources, they would come back to others and say, nobody visited me at the hospital. What they were saying was the pastor didn't come, even though the resource and the value was there. Are you understanding what I'm saying? And so sometimes we miss the point that the pastor don't have every single thing for you. There are other resources that you need, but if the pastor has has spaces to be able to refer, then people can get their healing in the spaces that they need to get their healing in. Would you all agree with that?
Yeah, we need to stop putting these pastors up on pedestals because pastors are people as well. I know the Bible talks about how everybody isn't called to be a pastor, isn't called to be a teacher, but we are to pray for our pastors. Praise God for all of our pastors. But what we can't do is create these idols out of our pastors, because they are just human too, called to do the work that the Lord has given them. But we put them up all the way here, and we have these expectations for them that they just cannot meet. And it's unfortunate. That's really unfortunate.
Yeah, I know. Miss Shakira just said something crazy, and I love that woman. She always said something funny.
That's a good woman.
But anyway, hey, let's pivot. Let's pivot. So we've talked about the challenges of being a millennial in church, right? So I want to move to a place of healing. What would be, if you were to get connected in ministry, what are the things besides the obvious? What are the things that you're looking for? I mean, what are the things that will propel you and others to get back connected? And I'll start with you, Edna.
Honestly, you said to get back to what I'm gonna tell you, I go to church and I listen to your sermons, especially your sermons, because really it's really not, again, what she's saying about the pastors and everything like that. I go to church just to listen to the message because it feels good to just be in this space. But on my time, at the same time, I'm just because a pastor says something to me or says something, or anyone in the church frame to feel like, oh, well, because he said that, that's what I'm gonna go by. No, I just like being in a space because the message and the music, it just feel good. It just brings good energy. But either way, I'm still gonna keep reading my Bible, because again, the Bible is like a study guide. So a study guide to everything, that are pathways. So I'm gonna keep studying the Bible, learning the Bible for myself, and learning everything on my own. But I'll still attend church because I like to be in a space. So it's really not much saying what anyone could do. At the end of the day, it's still like we still gotta learn God for ourselves. It doesn't matter what space we get in. Even you could go to church. You could have church with somebody. You don't even have to be in church space. You could a church is having some two or three people in a space and you doing Bible study at night. It's not that. I just like being in a church space. It just make you feel good, you know. So
Mhm.
I don't have nothing wrong with being in the church. I just like I
So, so
said, I'll just continue studying.
so I'm gonna push back a little bit on you. Okay, I'm gonna put because that's what I do. I'm gonna push back on you a little bit on that, right?
Sure.
So I'm a firm believer um, that church is not a building. To your point, I believe that church is not a building. I believe that church is a gathering space, right? So even coming out of pandemic, we're redefining what it means to gather, right? So we're gathering in these virtual spaces. And when we gather, he promises to meet us wherever we are, right? Wherever we are. So um, I believe that people ought to be in church, right? But the defining, because we are gathering people, but where we are redefining is what does that space look like? So I would push back on anybody who would believe that they can be connected but not connected because we don't walk out of our faith as much as we think that we do. We don't walk out our faith in isolation, and we were never called to. We were never called to walk out our faith in isolation. Just me by myself. We never was. When Jesus brings in those 12, he brings them into a space. When he tells them to go, he's trying to build up this thing called his church. I'm building my church. Gates of hell shall not prevail. When we see it in the book of Acts, there is a call to fellowship for people to grow and learn together. And so while I must strengthen myself in the Bible, I'm not called to walk out my faith by myself in isolation by myself. I'm called to walk it out with other people. Why is that important? Why is that important? Because if we understand the premise of grace, right? If we really understand the premise of grace, I go to Hezekiah's song, right? I need you and you need me, right? Because there is a reality as I'm walking this thing out, there are some challenges that I'm going to face that I can't handle by myself. And I need somebody else of the faith to come along and help me up, right? But if I'm just doing that in isolation by myself, then I become, in a real way, a God in and of myself, right? So I would agree with you. Never just take anything at face value. You go back and study. You go back and see, as the Bible says. I can't think of the individuals, but it said after they heard the word, they went back amongst themselves to see if that which they were being taught was truth. You definitely got to do that, especially in this spirit nowadays, right? You better go back and check it for yourself. But never let that be a sense where I'm operating in isolation. I'm operating in isolation. That would be, my advice as it relates to that. Because one, I don't know all things. You don't know all things. And when we come together, we learn and grow together. Does that make sense? Does that make sense, Edna? Huh?
Yeah, I wasn't saying in that sense. I was saying as people can have church in their homes. They don't have to
Right,
be
right, right.
not saying with a full congregation. It could be somebody
Yeah,
that's really studying God. You with somebody. It could be, I'm not saying not being in a church space. You can actually have church with
yeah.
three people. I'm not saying in
No,
the
I
space
agree.
of
I
not
agree.
being in church, but you can have church with three people. Not. So it wasn't. It
I
wasn't that.
agree.
I
I
understand
agree.
what you're saying. It
No, I
wasn't
agree.
on that one.
No,
That
no,
corporate
no.
worship, though, that corporate worship and prayer hit different. I'm not gonna front. Like, I haven't been in church for probably over a year, maybe even before the pandemic. I haven't been in church, and I'm not gonna lie, like that corporate anointing is different than the two or three. Not that there's not power in the two or three, because praise God there is, but something about corporate prayer and worship is just way different. Like, even just the thought of it right now, I feel overwhelmed with the goodness of God. It's different.
Yeah. Psalms
Corporate sound
133.
too.
Go ahead, Edna. Go ahead, Edna.
I was
Go
saying
ahead, Edna.
corporate sound too.
Yeah,
I understand what you're
yeah.
saying, not in a sense, but corporate sound too. Corporate is not like I wouldn't view the church in a corporate space. That's all.
I got you. I got you. I
Because
got
church
you.
shouldn't be in a corporate space.
I got you. I agree with that. So some of it is our language too, right? Some of our churchisms that we use. I think this is what I believe. This is what I believe about church. I believe the type of church that Christ is raising is one truth, right? His truth, right? And all. But then it says that Jesus came in two ways. It says he came in grace and in truth, right? And so what balances our truth is his grace, right? And so sometimes we have all of this truth, but if we don't balance it with grace, then we become Pharisees. Are you understand what I'm saying? People who become judgmental of others and harsh in their treatment of others, right? So here comes Jesus' disciples, they're hungry, and Jesus allows them to pluck the wheat. That's the Bible, right? Now the Old Testament says it's the Sabbath. You ain't supposed to be doing anything on the Sabbath. But grace now comes to say, these jokers hungry. They're going to pluck some wheat. You understand what I'm saying? They're going to pluck some wheat because they're hungry, right? That's where we find that balance. So we balance our truth with grace, right? With love, with hope,
Yep.
and with healing, right? With healing. And so we definitely got to have truth,
Absolutely.
but any connected space where there is no grace and there is no love, and then there is no fellowship, then to me it ain't church. Any space I go into and you calling it church, and the only thing you telling me is don't wear pants, you got to do this, that, and the other. I don't care how holy you think you are. That ain't church to me. Because you're not bringing healing and hope and love and grace, right? You're just bringing law. And can't none of us, I don't care what title you have, I don't care what clerical collar you have, I don't care if you're wearing skirts and all of that other stuff, can't none of us hold up to that type of scrutiny. And that's just the truth. EJ, what do you say to that? What do you say to that?
I mean, I would agree. I guess just going back to the point where you said, how would we get our age group to get connected? I feel like it's creating spaces like these where we, can come up here and speak about the things that are on our mind, because we don't really have those platforms. And, it shocked me to see the people that responded to a lot of the questions, and people who are even tuning in right now. It shows me that, we want to do better. We want these answers. We want these spaces, but it's just not there for us. So again, creating spaces like these for us to come up here and speak and discuss the issues, and again, heal, learn together. I feel like that'd be the way to go.
Yeah. Man, listen, just hanging out with y'all, for these last 50 minutes have really just blessed me. It really has blessed me because I'm one who wants to know. I'm not afraid of a question. I'm not afraid of pushback and commentary because I think that helps us to grow. And as one who has faced many challenges as it relates to the church and trying to figure out this God, you follow what I'm saying, and what it means to be walking with him and walking with others in that particular space. I'm so thankful tonight that you all decided to come in and share your truth, right? And not be ashamed in your truth and walk out your truth. And so it has been so refreshing to me tonight to be hanging out with you all. I so appreciate this moment because I feel like on many levels, this is what we need to get our healing, right? To bring our young folk back into a space where they can understand. You can ask questions. where they can understand you can still love God and still have some challenges. You can still love God and not be interested in the big church hats. You can still love God. You know what I mean? And you just want Bible study. You know what I mean? You don't need to know how to do the holy dance. You know what I mean? All of these different examples, I think, are very critical in order for us to grow together and for us to get back connected so that we can be one. So, hey, we got a few more minutes. I'm just going to go round robin. EJ, knowing this space, we always leave with a song. So I got a little song that we're going to play as well. I'm going to get out the space. We're going to play it together. Then I'm going to come back, right, for a few moments. But I'm going to give you all, the last round robin, last word. Just center yourself right now in terms of, where you feel, what you feel in this moment, in this space right now, and begin to talk to millennials on how they can come back or how they can, get their questions asked or whatever you want to share in this space, in this moment that's on your heart. Let's talk about it. I'm going to start with Renee. Go ahead, share. Renee, did you hear me? I'm losing you. Give me a sound check, Renee. Okay, say something because you're not coming through to us. I'm not hearing you. Okay, I'm gonna move to EJ. Go ahead, EJ. I'm gonna come back to you, Rona.
Yeah, well, first, Pastor Way, appreciate you, inviting us into the space. I feel like it was definitely necessary.
I don't know what just happened. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I feel like the space was necessary. So again, I appreciate you. But to the millennials, understand that it's okay to love God, right? I feel like some people who they may look at me and think I changed, which I did, right? But understand that I still struggle with certain things. I still struggle with things of the past that I may have used to, been into. But the goal, what we're supposed to do is acknowledge, whose we are and who we are, right? And understand that it's a process, it's a journey. We got to walk it out. But the main idea is to do better, to want to do better. And just understand, I feel like in this day and age is more critical than ever. So just pay attention to what's going on, get connected to spaces like these. And, if you have any questions, feel comfortable with reaching out, whether it's to me, Edna, Rane, Pastor Wade. Like Pastor said, if we can connect you with somebody, we definitely would try to do so. So just feel comfortable in that space. And that's what I'll leave with.
All right. Wonderful. Great. That's great. Edna, share with us.
Again, thank you, Pastor Wade, for having me as always. I want to say I really appreciate how you didn't take offense to anything that any of us said, and you also want to learn how we feel or any millennium how they feel, even being in, you know, growing up in a certain era, just like I was, and I do appreciate that. I do feel comfortable even asking questions myself to you, you know, as far as even still learning. I'm still learning, and as well as you, everyone's gonna still learn until we leave this earth. And I want to say to everyone, as far as with God, there is a God, and even though me even working with teens, a lot of them don't believe in God, and I could say I always tell them, I don't matter, pray. I always tell them like, listen, pray. Even teaching some kids how to pray, you know. So I know it's not pushed on it's not pushed. God is not pushed on the younger generation, younger than me, like it was on my end, or even in the 80s. It's not pushed on them now. So I think that's why it's in a space where um they don't have to believe. So everyone in my range or my age or even older, you know, as they did, even though it's not the same, try to express who God is and tell someone there's a God, even if they praying today, I had a bad day, God. It doesn't matter. I think we all should still continue to press, even of our age. If you don't know nobody else doing it, put it on them. Put it on people that is God. Let everybody express what He's done for you or what you know He did to somebody else, even if He didn't do anything for you and you're still patiently waiting. I think we should express that even to the younger, even the younger generation than us. So that's why I'm saying that to spread the word, continue to spread the word.
Absolutely, absolutely. I agree. I think we got Ronay back. Ronay, you back with us? We got her back. Can you hear me? Go ahead. Express. Go ahead. Talk.
I think she put
Ronay,
it in the chat though.
I know she put it. Okay, Ronay said the devil is such a liar, though. That's what I want the millennials to
Can
know.
you
Do not let
can you hear
setbacks
me?
keep you down. Hold on to God. I can hear you. Yes, go ahead. Talk. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
We had you. What happened? Yes, talk, talk, talk. Ronay, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. Oh, wow. We can't hear you, Ronay. We lost you. All right, so let's go out this way. We're going to play this song right here. Y'all let me know
You
if
can
y'all feel
hear
I
me.
can't hear you, Ronay.
Cool.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you. All right, here we go. We're going to play this.
I don't know
Yeah, I
what
can hear you. Say what you're saying now.
happened, but yeah, the devil is a liar, y'all. Didn't want me to
We
be able to say that. I don't know.
technology.
I don't know.
We hear you.
But
We hear you. Keep talking. Just
God
keep
is
talking.
good. Able to get me back on, push through millennials, push through, and develop
Okay.
a relationship
All right. All right. Let's go out this way. Here we go. Here we go.
with God for yourself. That's it. That's devil is a liar. The devil's a liar.
Not see you in the end, and I don't wanna know your name, and you, I know that's before I get to the gate. Please hold me close. Don't let me go. Hold me close. Yeah.
All right, I think we're having some problems with the music. That's all right. Hey, I appreciate you all coming into the space tonight. I so love y'all. God is so good. Ronay, bless you, girl. We got it. The devil is a liar. We got it. You did a wonderful job tonight. We want you to know that tonight, Ronay. You did a wonderful job. And everybody in the space is saying it was awesome tonight. I mean, it really was awesome tonight. And I'm so thankful for each and every one of you. You feel what I'm saying?
Appreciate you.
Yeah. All right, now, until the next time.
Definitely.
Tomorrow night, we're coming
Right,
back.
guys.
We got some more folk coming in tomorrow night that we're excited to be talking to on tomorrow night as well. So everybody, y'all come on back. 8 p.m. is Wade's Word of the Day. We'll talk to y'all real
Let's
soon.
go
Please,
viral.
let's go
Let's
viral.
go viral.
Yeah, peace. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us tonight.